So, I had this one really creepy experience last summer that still gives me chills. It was during a camping trip with a few friends in a remote deep woods area. Just trying to get away from screens and all that. But little did we know, it would turn into the scariest night of our lives. We set up our tents by this old, abandoned cabin we found. It looked like something out of a horror movie, creaky, dilapidated, and shrouded in darkness. My friend Mark suggested we explore it, which sounded like a fun dare at first, so we grabbed our flashlights and went in. Inside, the air was musty, and we stumbled up on old, dusty furniture covered in creepy, tattered sheets. We tried to laugh it off, but it felt like the walls had eyes watching us. That's when things got really freaky. We heard these weird, distant whispers, like someone was talking to us from the shadows. Naturally, we panicked and bolted out of the cabin. But the creepiest part was that the whispering didn't stop. It followed us back to our campsite. We realized we were the only ones in those woods, but it felt like we were surrounded by an unseen presence. The whispering started to get louder and more intense, and we couldn't make out what it was saying. It was like a chorus of ghostly voices just beyond our comprehension. We tried to leave, but the trees seemed to close in on us, and we ended up right back at the cabin. We were stuck in some kind of loop, like a real-life horror video game. Finally, we all freaked out and just screamed. That's when it all stopped, and the world seemed to right itself. The cabin was gone, and we were able to leave. We've never been able to explain what happened that night, but we've all sworn never to go back to those woods. I don't know if it was some kind of supernatural thing or just our overactive teenage imaginations, but it was hands down the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. And to this day, I still can't shake the feeling that those whispers in the dark were trying to tell us something we weren't meant to know.
It was the summer before my junior year, and my friends and I were craving some adventure, so we decided to spend the weekend at an old, run-down, supposedly haunted mansion deep in the woods. You know, the typical dare-you-to-go-in type of place. As we approached the mansion, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. It was isolated, with no other houses in sight. Just towering trees casting eerie shadows. The windows were all shattered, and the place seemed to breathe history, but it wasn't the good kind. We ventured inside, our flashlights creating eerie patterns on the cracked walls. The air was thick with dust, and the floorboards creaked beneath our feet as we explored room by room. My friend Sarah swears she saw a shadow move in the corner of her eye. I brushed it off as her imagination running. We decided to leave, but as we reached the door, it slammed shut on its own, trapping us inside. Panic set in, and we frantically tried to open it. But it was like it had a mind of its own. Then we heard the whispers, faint at first, but growing louder with every passing second. The whispers seemed. We huddled together, trembling with fear. As the room seemed to grow colder by the second, the whispers turned into a chorus of haunting voices, and I couldn't help but think that they were trying to tell us something. Something dark and ancient. The shadows danced on the walls, and the air became just when we thought we couldn't take it anymore, the door flew open, and we tumbled out into the night. The whispers faded, and the mansion stood eerily silent. We never spoke about what happened that night, and we never went back. To this day, I can't explain the malevolent presence that lurked in that mansion, but one thing is for sure, we encountered something otherworldly, something that left an indelible mark on our teenage souls. I couldn't resist the allure of the abandoned mansion that loomed at the edge of town. It had been a topic of endless rumors among my friends, each one scarier than the last. They said it was haunted, that those who entered never came out the same. So, On a moonless night, I decided to explore the ominous house, accompanied only by my flashlight and my curiosity. The moment I pushed open the creaking gate and stepped onto the overgrown path, the air grew icy, and the trees whispered dark secrets. The mansion itself, a decaying monstrosity of cobweb-laden windows and rotting wood, seemed to beckon me forward. It was as if the very walls had memories, and they wanted to share their stories. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of decay and a mustiness that seemed to cling to my skin. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like tattered curtains, and the faded wallpaper barely clung to the walls. My footsteps echoed through the empty hallways, and the sound of my own breathing was unnervingly loud in the silence. I began to explore room after room, each one revealing more about the mansion's chilling history. A child's room, with tattered toys strewn about, gave me goosebumps. It was said that the ghost of a child haunted these halls. A dusty, long-forgotten library hinted at the scholar, who had once called this place home. In the dim light, it felt as if the books themselves watched my every move. As I continued deeper into the mansion, the sound of whispers grew louder, as though unseen voices conspired against me. My flashlight's beam flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. I could hear the distant creaking of old floorboards, and I was certain I wasn't alone. A chill raced down my spine when I entered the grand ballroom. The ghostly sounds of an old piano playing by itself filled the room. There, in the corner, stood a dusty, cracked mirror that seemed to hold the reflections of lost souls. I couldn't bear to look at it for too long. With a shiver, I realized I had ventured far too deep into this haunted mansion. I tried to retrace my steps, but the hallway seemed to have shifted, its walls lined with endless, identical doors. Panic set in as I fumbled for my flashlight, which had died unexpectedly. I was plunged into darkness, my heart pounding in my chest. As I groped my way through the inky blackness, the whispers around me grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to echo with the regrets and fears of the past. I could feel unseen eyes watching, closing in on me from all sides. In my frantic search for the exit, I stumbled upon a room with a single lit candle. The flickering flame revealed an ancient diary, its pages filled with the tormented scribbles of the mansion's last inhabitant. The final entry sent shivers down my spine, as it seemed to address me directly. "Welcome, intruder. You'll never leave. You'll become part of this place." With newfound determination, I found my way out of the labyrinthine halls and fled from the haunted mansion. The whispers followed me to the very gates, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something lingered just beyond my sight. That night, I realized the rumors were true. The mansion held the trapped souls of those who had ventured inside, their regrets and fears haunting its darkened corridors. I had narrowly escaped their clutches, forever scarred by the chilling experience, and I knew I'd never venture into the world of the supernatural again.